This week on World Traveler Cooking, we're going to make rawon. Now, I'm going to make a lot of it today. This dish you can keep around for a little bit in your refrigerator. You can freeze it. It's sort of one of the major Javanese classics. So, what makes rawon is its use of this keluak nut. And I'll post some tips into finding this in the description. I have found it when I was in Europe through Dutch Indonesian stores. I never found it through German Indonesian stores. I don't know how accessible it is in the United States. But if you're not using this, it's not rawon, so make sure you can find good keluak. Now rawon is basically a really thick beef stew with this really nice thick, this really nice dark broth, which is flavored with keluak and a bunch of other flavors. So, let's just go through the ingredients. Now, on top of all this, I'm sure I will have salt to add. But I'm making 2 kilograms of beef oxtails today. You can use just small pieces of beef. That's much more typical, although oxtails are often used. And sometimes people also do beef ribs this way. So we're gonna do oxtails today. We have keluak. Now these I have here just for demonstration purposes, because like the first thing you do is you break these open and you take the inside out and you get something like this, that then we put in this hot water to soak and soften up. I've gone ahead and done that to speed things up today. We also have candlenuts. I have 5 of them here. If you can't find candlenuts, you could use macadamias or even Brazil nuts. Those would work. I have about a large, I would say a tablespoon or so of cumin, maybe a little less, and probably a tablespoon and it's probably a teaspoon of cumin and a tablespoon of coriander seed. So I have my keluak here. On top of this I have 5 daun salam, so you could use bay leaves here. If I was only doing 1 kilogram, I'd probably use 3. I have 6 lime leaves here. You can use, so 3 per kilogram. I have a bunch of small Indonesian shallots. For Indonesian shallots, I'm using 9. If I were using European shallots, maybe I'd use 3. For garlic, I have 7 cloves of garlic. You'd use 6, so let's say 3 cloves per kilogram again. Little piece of fresh tumeric, little piece of something called kencur. This is a specific relative of ginger used extensively here in Indonesian cooking. If you can't get it, which you won't be able to get it outside of Indonesia, just ignore it. You can leave this off, but it does add a nice flavor. We have ginger, which we have peeled. Again, this is probably 3 centimeters long. And we have a similar amount of lenquas, actually probably more lenquas because I have 2 pieces here. Lenquas is galangal, and this is of course fresh also. We have 2 stalks, so 1 stalk total of per kilogram of green onions. We have 1 tomato. You can use 1 tomato per kilogram or 1 tomato per 2 kilograms. And we have a full piece of lemongrass. So, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to start by grinding my ingredients on the ulek. So if you don't have an ulek, you're going to have to make the paste somehow. The easiest way to do it if you don't have an ulek is to use an immersion blender. A normal blender is not going to deal with the fact that you want a paste out of this very well. So that's your other option. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to start by grinding probably my my candlenuts, the ginger pieces and relatives, and then I will add to that the garlic, shallots. These spices are going to be, you could either add them whole or you can grind them. If you're going to grind them, you're going to have to grind them first. So I'm going to grind them first, I think. I'll grind them before I grind the rest of the stuff. So that's what we're going to do. This will also end up in the mixture. And yeah, looking forward to this. So if I'm going to grind these spices, I'm going to do this first because otherwise they will stick. So it's ridiculously simple with this. And these don't have to get super finely ground, just I want to kind of mill them so that the flavor comes out when I toast everything later. So here we are with the coriander, and next I'll do the cumin. I'm going to start by bruising the ginger, so it'll, or the ginger, galangal, etc., so that it will mash better. I always find it fascinating how much turmeric looks like carrot, but of course they have completely different characteristics once you start like getting it on your clothes. All right, so from here we can just kind of mash things up. And I'm also going to do the same thing of kind of smashing the nuts. And I'm basically going to continue mashing these together until they're well incorporated, and then I'll start adding the garlic, and then the shallots, and then from after that, the keluak. Again, we switch to this grinding motion, and we can smell the garlic just get wonderfully incorporated there. And so I'm going to keep working on this. And as soon as this is done, I will come back and we'll add the shallots. So you'll see me basically go like this a bunch. And I'll be back when this is all mixed. So here we have our paste, and now the next stage is we're going to toast this in an unoiled pan. Now I'm going to go ahead and normally, as you know, I don't use non-stick pans. You could use a stainless steel pan, but I don't have one, so I'm going to go ahead and use a non-stick pan for this. One last thing I'm going to do here before I get started is I'm going to bruise my lemongrass. So I have now bruised it. This will go with the daun salam, which you could use bay leaf if you can't get, and the daun jeruk, that's the lime leaf, and half of the green onions in with the oxtails to simmer. So I'm going to put the bottom half of the green onions, or maybe I'll just put like one bottom half and one top half. So I start boiling the oxtails with the aromatics. So I have in here the 5 leaves of daun salam, which if you don't have, you could substitute in bay leaf for. I have the 6 leaves of lime leaves that you really have to use. Then 1 bruised stalk of lemongrass and 1 stalk of green onion. And this will be on to simmer. In the meantime, I will be toasting my spices. So I've heated up my pan, so now it's hot. And I'm going to toast this this paste here. Now, if you're using a reactive pan like this and stuff is sticking to the bottom, then sometimes you'll just have to take it off the heat for a bit and work the stuff off the bottom. The problem is that if the pan gets too hot, then you'll get a layer of stuff boiling onto it, but then the pan will still be too hot to keep it from being reincorporated. So in those cases, just take it off for a moment and mix it back in. We're going to keep doing this until the whole thing is really fragrant, and then we'll start adding the other spices. So in goes the last of the spices, the cumin, at least in this section. And you can see how paste-like this has become. And I've had to take this off the heat frequently to reincorporate stuff that's sticking. So we're just going to toast this for a few more minutes, and then this goes into the liquid along with the oxtails. Okay, so now we have this really dark, almost black spice paste. Probably best if I just pick it up. This is going to go into the broth, and we'll go from there. You can see how dark that's going to make the broth right away. And then I'm going to let this boil for like maybe 15-20 minutes. Now, if you were making this with just little pieces of beef stew meat, which is what you can definitely do, then you probably don't need to boil it for that long. Maybe 10 minutes, adjust the seasonings, and then let it cook until it's done. But since these are oxtails, they're going to take a while, so I'm going to let it sit. I'm going to let it boil for like 20 minutes. Then I'll come back and salt, and then we'll come back we'll come back when it's done. Alright, so it's been cooking for a bit. I'm going to salt it roughly like I would a stew. Maybe a little less, because in addition to the salt, we're going to add a little bit of sugar. Maybe, yeah. Remember, sugar, like salt, is a flavor enhancer. And then we're going to let this cook for maybe, basically until the meat's soft. And then I'll be back and we'll go ahead and try this. So I've adjusted the salt up a little bit, and now I'm going to just serve myself a bit for a taste test. I'm going to start with a bit of meat here and some broth, and you can see just how rich and dark that broth is. But this isn't where we're going to stop. I'm going to show you what else we put on top of this. It makes it look nice, and also makes it tastier. Okay, so here are the things that we'll put it with it. We have fried shallots. I'll do another video at some point about how to do these if you want to do them yourself. Otherwise, you can often buy, say, crisp fried onions that'll work fairly well. We have salty duck eggs. You can get these often at Chinese stores in some areas. If not, I guess you'll just have to omit them. Bean sprouts, you could probably use mung bean sprouts if you don't get any of these, but these are just some bean sprouts. And then we have chopped, the rest of the green onion is chopped up like this. So, to present this, what we'll do is I will start by putting some of the bean sprouts over the top. Oh, and of course we have sambal, which is basically, in this case, mashed chilies, sometimes with some salt, sugar, water, garlic, that sort of thing. If you want it spicy, you can add a little more. I'm just going to add a little bit at this point. And maybe I can get there's some on my spoon also. So then I'm just going to put some green onion and some fried onion. If you just kind of sprinkle them all on top, you'll get this nice, pleasing effect. But I always start with the bean sprouts because they're lighter colored. And now for the taste test. First, I'm going to taste some of this broth with a few of the bean sprouts. That's really, really amazing. Rich, well spiced, well seasoned, amazing. Now I'm going to try a bit of the meat off of one of these oxtails. Actually, I'm going to try another piece of meat because that one wasn't so much. Now that's amazing. You get the flavors from the ginger, galangal, stuff like that. You also get the this wonderful richness from the keluak. It's just an amazing dish, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. Now, if you find this content interesting, I hope I've earned a like and a subscription from you. And if you want to support the work I do, please check out my Patreon page where you can support me, and I give my Patreon subscribers early access to many of my videos. Depending upon the level, you get more videos if you donate more. Additionally, if you make this dish and you make it a little differently than I do, I'd love to hear how you do it differently in the description or in the comments. Feel free to leave a comment. Love to hear from you. At any rate, bon appetit, and see you next week.